Welcome to this presentation on the Children's Internet Protection Act and Internet Safety in Schools. In this presentation, we will discuss the Children's Internet Protection Act, commonly known as CIPA, especially with regard to its application to schools and school systems, as well as Internet safety policies and technology protection measures usually undertaken to comply with CIPA. Let's get started. The Children's Internet Protection Act was passed into federal law in the year 2000 as part of an effort to limit children's access to inappropriate content on the Internet. Two previous attempts to restrict children's access to the Internet, the Communications Decency Act of 1996 and the Child Online Protection Act, passed in 1998, had been rejected or blocked by federal courts, largely on First Amendment grounds. CIPA addressed this problem by giving schools a financial incentive to put policies in place to restrict students' access to inappropriate materials on the Internet. Many school systems take advantage of discounts on Internet access provided through a program called the Universal Service Fund, which is managed by the Federal Communications Commission, also known as the FCC. CIPA made these discounts, commonly known in the industry as the E-rate, dependent upon compliance with CIPA's requirements regarding students' access to the Internet. Because this allowed school systems to ignore CIPA if they chose to do so, despite the financial impact doing so might have, the United States Supreme Court upheld the law in 2003, and it's been on the books ever since. In general, CIPA requires school systems to have a policy that protects students against access to visual depictions that are obscene, child pornography, and other material that is harmful to minors. The policy must also address the safety and security of minors using email, chat rooms, and other forms of electronic communications, unauthorized access, including hacking and other unlawful activities by minors online, and the unauthorized disclosure, use, and dissemination of personal information regarding minors. The policy must also make provisions for the monitoring of the online activities of students, and it must be updated as needed to educate minors about appropriate online behavior, including how to interact with other individuals online, how to increase awareness of cyberbullying incidents, as well as how to respond to those incidents. Schools must also have technology protection measures in place and enforce the operation of those measures. A technology protection measure is any specific technology that blocks or filters Internet access. These go by various names, but operate in similar ways by restricting access to certain websites and other Internet applications if they are deemed inappropriate for children. Schools are allowed to disable its technology protection measures for adults needing access for bona fide research or other lawful purposes. CIPA requires school systems to certify compliance with these requirements on an annual basis to preserve their E-rate discount. The most important means of compliance with CIPA are ongoing updates to Internet safety policies, which are especially important as the Internet continues to evolve. It's worth remembering that at the time CIPA became law, the Internet as we know it today was still in its developing stages. A number of companies and brands we commonly associate with the Internet were still very new in 2000. Amazon.com was just beginning its transition from an online bookseller to the e-commerce giant it has become today. Netflix was still just distributing DVDs through the mail. And Google was all of just 2 years old when CIPA was passed. Social media sites, which now dominate our landscape, such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram did not exist when SEPA became law. In fact, social media, as we know it, really didn't take off until the late 2000s. As for Apple, well, many people at that time considered Apple to be all but finished as a technology company. But that was before the release of the iPod in 2001 and, even more importantly, the iPhone in 2007, which made smartphones and therefore unlimited access to the internet for anyone 24 hours a day, every day, and virtually anywhere an accepted and expected way of life. Smartphones have had an especially major impact on schools, as many of today's students have grown up with the expectation of having their smartphones and therefore internet access within arm's reach at all times. In fact, if you think about it, no K-12 student today was even alive when SEPA became law. The world of technology in which they have grown is vastly different from that existing in the year 2000. Yet, despite a few efforts here and there, SEPA has never been updated to account for these changes. And so it has been left to school systems to constantly adapt their internet safety policies in a rapidly changing technological world while still complying with SEPA's rules in order to protect students from inappropriate materials. For this reason, you are strongly encouraged to review your school system's internet safety policy on a fairly regular basis to keep up with ongoing developments. This policy can usually be found in the Instructional Services section of your system's board policies and entitled Use of the Internet under Descriptor Code 4.406. Here, you will find the Internet rules for both employees and students, as well as the Internet safety measures the system has in place. In addition, this policy will usually include information about email usage, Internet safety instruction, and social networking. You are also strongly encouraged to review the two sections that come afterward: Social Media, Code 4.4061, and School and System Websites, Code 4.407. The subject matter of these two sections are not directly SEPA related, but they will provide additional helpful information to you about your system's approach to the internet and other electronic media. Bear in mind that some school systems may have these policies in places other than those just described. If you are unable to find your system's internet policies with the information and descriptor codes mentioned previously, please ask the appropriate office or individual in your school or system for assistance. This concludes this presentation on the Children's Internet Protection Act and Internet Safety in Schools. We hope you found this presentation useful and informative. Thanks for watching, and thank you for all you do for the students and families of Tennessee. Have a terrific school year.
Class dismissed.